How raw were you, Brett, when you came to Green Bay?
And looking back, had you asked me that question right away, I would have thought, I'm ready. And I think that's part of the beauty of my success is that naive mentality. But as I look back, Mike Holmgren had his work cut out for him. He left a great organization that winning was nothing, and playing the quarterback position was the way it was supposed to be played, and he obviously was a coach that. He had Joe Montana, he had Steve Young. Then he gets me, who, here's a guy that could throw it as far as anyone, could throw it through anything, and that was good, but that was the problem. Why read anything when you can throw it through them?
In Milwaukee County Stadium, I called our last timeout, and I think we're about on the 9-yard line, something like that. We have enough time for 2 pass plays. I said, there's 2 things that can't happen. You can't get sacked, and you can't run. He runs in there. He runs in there, runs the play. He doesn't throw the ball. And he starts to run. I go, no, no. And he scored by this much. Didn't you not listen to a single thing I said? He goes, I knew I could score. He goes, I knew I could get in. I go, okay, okay. That was one of those games.
I wanted the ball in my hands with a minute left.
The touchdown! Kittredge Taylor!
A special performance by Brett Favre.
The countdown is on.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the second installment of Countdown to Favre. Today we feature the number 4 game in Brett Favre's top 5. Larry, it's week 3 of the 1992 season. Mike Holmgren is a rookie head coach. I am in San Diego covering a game, but the place to be was Lambeau Field, and you were there.
We didn't know it was the place to be. I mean, the Packers started the season in ho-hum fashion. Folks didn't know anything about Brett Favre, really didn't know Mike Holmgren and how all that was going to work out. And on the 6th play from scrimmage, the Packers starting quarterback, an established starter named Don Majkowski, he goes down and he's done for the day. And he's going to be done for a matter of weeks. And out trots number 4. And nobody knows what they're getting.
And at one point, it got so bad, fans were cheering or chanting for Ty Detmer. Imagine that.
Well,
I mean, nothing against Detmer, but I mean, this is Brett Favre.
Like it's a long time ago, and I'm almost as old as you, Vic, almost anyway. And I don't remember what was going on. I'm just thinking, wow, okay, Majkowski's done. And up until this point, you know, we're heading to halfway through the 4th quarter, and the Packers need a couple scores. And they've got a second-year quarterback playing his first extended action of his career. And up to that point, Brett Favre's performance hasn't been anything that people would hang their hats on. He'd been sacked 5 times, fumbled 4 times, and everybody's not really optimistic. People will remember the final drive, 5 plays, 92 yards, ends with a 35-yard touchdown pass to Kittredge Taylor.
Here's Favre. Favre goes straight back in the pocket. Now he pumps it. Now he's going to the end zone. There's a man. He's wide open. Touchdown. It is caught by the Packers, and it is Kittredge Taylor.
And a couple things happened during that final half a quarter of play. It showed how strong Brett Favre's arm was. The Bengals were trying to play cover 2, play it safe, and let him throw a pick at him. And Brett didn't do it, and like that deep outside, he hit one to Sterling Sharp. Deep outside, over the corner, safety couldn't get there in time because Brett had, you know, he throws extra set missiles. So they're about this high off the ground, did that. And then the touchdown pass to Kittredge Taylor, same type of deal. Not quite as a spectacular a catch, but same type of deal. Safety couldn't get over to help in time, and you're starting to think, this guy's got a cannon. I mean, he has got a howitzer. But I suppose the long-lasting thing, besides the birth of a legend, the long-lasting thing was you got a guy that was up and down and all over the place for most of the game, but in that final 8 minutes, because he not only had to take him on 1 touchdown drive, he had to take him to 2, and they were both long. I mean, the guy in crunch time, at crunch time, was something special.
And the following week against the Steelers, Brett Favre made his first ever start, and I'm proud to say I was there.
I wanted the ball in my hands with a minute left.
Touchdown! Kittling Taylor!
A special performance by Brett Favre.
Countdown is on.
Hi everybody, welcome to Countdown to Favre, our week-long series leading up to Brett Favre's Packers Hall of Fame induction and jersey retirement ceremony. We'll take a look at Favre's 5 greatest games, chosen very scientifically by you and me.
Don't try that at home. We are professionals.
One per day, starting with number 5. And Larry, it's Christmas Eve, 2004, at the Metrodome against the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, a couple things as a way to set this thing up. The Packers started that season miserably, like 1-4. The Vikings, they started fast, like 5-1. And so it gets down to this Christmas Eve. And I'll tell you what, in Packerland, a lot of people are hoping for this present. And the other thing about it, Brett Favre, the Metrodome, was always his personal nemesis. What's the deal with Brett and the Metrodome? Well, nobody could figure out. Going into this game, he was 3-9. And finally, during this part of his career, they figured out earplugs. You know, the noise in that place were crazy. They fitted Brett with some earplugs, kind of drowned out some of the noise. Helped him immeasurably.
Yeah, helped Brett Favre overcome his personal house of horrors. A back-and-forth game through the first 3.5 quarters, and you think Brett Favre has lost the game when he throws a pick 6 to Chris Claiborne. The Vikings take a 7-point lead with about 8 minutes to go, and then number 4 takes over.
Brett Favre, one of his greatest attributes is short memory. The interception that might have cost him the game, no problem. He takes the team 80 yards, 13 plays, but there's even more dramatics. They got a 4th and 3, and they got to get a touchdown here.
Brett back to throw. Looking around, jumps it over the middle. Yes! Driver, touchdown! Yes! You talk about clutch performances. Brett Favre responded.
But it's still tied up. They still got to get the ball back, and they still got to get within field goal range.
Brett Favre hits a crucial pass to Javon Walker. He breaks a couple tackles, gets upfield, gets the Packers into field goal range for a walk-off kick that wins their 3rd straight NFC North title.
Kick booms to the uprights, and it is good! An NFC North Division Championship dagger!
11 plays, 76 yards, ends up with a 29-yard field goal. And the big play was to Javon Walker, and it was a lot of run after the catch, 30 yards worth. But again, the guy pulling the trigger saved his best for last.
That's number 5 in Countdown to Favre. We'll see you tomorrow for number 4.
I wanted the ball in my hands with a minute left.
Touchdown! Kittling Taylor!
A special performance by Brett Favre.
The countdown is on.
Well, Larry, this is the number 2 game in the Countdown to Favre, Brett Favre's top 5 games, and it's Super Bowl 31.
As far as Brett Favre's top 5 games, it's the only Super Bowl championship, so it's included. His numbers that day were pretty workmanlike. 14-27, 246 yards, a couple touchdowns, no interceptions, rush for a touchdown. They were good, just not spectacular, but the magnitude of the game and the stage and the fact that he led the team to the ultimate prize, I think that's why he gets in the list. And there was a couple plays, Vic, that really stand out. One of them, second play from scrimmage by the Green Bay Packers.
Here is the 2nd down and 9. Brett Favre appears to be changing plays at the line of scrimmage. 2 wide receivers right. Shimura is the tight end to the right, and back goes Brett to throw. Here they come. He's got time. He's throwing it downfield.
He's got him wide open. It is going to be a touchdown to Andre Rison. Rison takes it across the goal line.
Brett reads the blitz perfectly and tosses it out to Andre Rison, who read his part of the blitz perfectly. 54-yard score. Great way to start the game. And Brett, we talked to him a month or so ago, and he said, you know, we hadn't run that play all year. I didn't know if it was the right play, but boy, it worked that day. And the other one, the Patriots were threatening to kind of seize the momentum. But then Brett hits Antonio Freeman, who shook off press coverage at the line of scrimmage, shook him off. Brett throws him a perfect pass, a then record 81-yard touchdown score.
This time he's going to go long upfield. There's wide open. Freeman, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, 25 down the sideline. He's all the way. A perfect throw by Brett Favre. The Packers back in the lead.
Okay, Larry, here comes the big question. Should Favre have been the game's MVP?
That is a big question. As I mentioned earlier, Brett's numbers were solid, not spectacular, but he played mistake-free, made a couple of huge plays. But I think the reason Desmond Howard was the game's MVP was that overall, punt returns and kickoff returns, he had real good numbers. And he tilted the field in the Packers' favor permanently when he returned that kickoff 99 yards. The Patriots were threatening to make it a game again, and that kind of sealed the deal. And I think that held sway with the voting.
It didn't hurt the Packers that they had a guy named Reggie White who helped hold the Patriots scoreless in the fourth quarter. That is also getting lost in that game, but I'm going to chime in with my opinion. I think Favre should have been the MVP. I don't think they win the game without him. Kick returner, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Did you ask me that question so you could state your opinion?
Probably.
There you have it, friends. Number 2 on the big list.
And tomorrow is number 1.
He was a type of competitor and player. When he ran on the field, it tilted in his team's favor.
He's on the road, and he's got a man open. Bullet. Perfect throw by Brett Favre.
Nothing short of amazing.
Proved again what a terrific player he is.
If you want to study Brett Favre's career, just watch the first game he played.
You always knew he could make that throw that a lot of quarterbacks couldn't.
There's a man. He's wide open. Touchdown. Kittredge Taylor. Great pass by Favre.
Ty Detmer would always say, I would never make that throw. Where I would say, what's the big deal?
I'd be on the sidelines yelling, no, no, no. And he'd throw it and I'd go, yes, yes, because it worked.
I wasn't one of those that loved to play when things were good. I loved to play regardless.
He came into the locker room and he fit in with everybody.
He played the game a certain way for competition, for enjoyment, for the fans, for his teammates.
Laughing, crying, blocking, whatever. I just wanted to play.
In my 38 years, he is the best player I've ever been around.
He helped resurrect a franchise that had been in the doldrums for 24 years. I just don't think we can ever thank him enough for his contributions to the Green Bay Packers.
Ron Wolf has been given control and given a 5-year contract to bring the Packers back to prominence.
And I'm here to assure Packer fans that I will be doing everything in my power to make this football team a consistent contender, an NFL champion once again.
He comes here with full authority to run the football operation. Every major football decision will be made by Ron Wolf. Vince Lombardi came in '59 and rescued a franchise that was in turmoil and made it great. And Ron Wolf did the same thing in 1991 and did it in a hurry. We brought Ron in to be introduced as our new general manager on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And he had some scouting assignments left for the New York Jets. And he says, Bob, I'm going to go finish my scouting assignments. You're in Atlanta Sunday. He said, I'll meet you at Atlanta. So I'm in the press box early on Sunday morning waiting for him. And he comes up, puts a briefcase down next to me, and he says, I'm going to go watch Atlanta's backup quarterback. If his arm is still as strong as it was coming out of college, we're going to go after him. I took the flip card to find out who Atlanta's quarterback was. I thought it was a guy named Favre. Ron came back probably within 15, 20 minutes and says, we're going to make a trade for Brett Favre. The decision was made that day.
I was so excited about having an opportunity to get Brett Favre. I can't say he's the most physically gifted. I'll say this, as far as throwing the football, he was perfect.
We gave up the 17th pick, as you know, for this. One thing we're basing most of this on is what we saw in college. I think he's a tremendous leader, and that in itself will really help us down the road.
I realize I'm a Green Bay Packer now, and I'm happy. Maybe I can prove that I am worth the first-round pick next year, but in time you will see that I am. You just got to be patient and give me time, because I promise I can be the man eventually.
Let's face it, I tied my career to Brett Favre. We're like connected at the hip, so to speak.
I knew a lot about Green Bay just from being a history buff and just a fan of the game. Couldn't really tell you where it was. I knew it was cold and it was up north. But I have to admit, maybe other guys would have been like, oh, brother. I was excited. I really was excited. And this is even before I knew when they had been to the playoffs, who their starting quarterback was, who their head coach was. I just wanted to play. And I was not going to get that opportunity in Atlanta anytime soon. So I knew this when I was traded for a first-round pick and I was drafted in the second round. That was a good thing. I wasn't the smartest guy around, but I knew that this is a great opportunity and I am not going to let it slip away.
Is it true the Packer doctors failed you on your physical and Dr. Wolf came down and unfailed you in short order? Was that true?
No, it's true. It's true. I had was thought to be a vascular necrosis.
I called Pat McKenzie. It was something involving his hip. And Pat said during the course of our conversation that he could probably play about 4 years. Well, all I heard was about 4 years. That's when I got up, walked down, and told him we're going to pass the guy.
I was examined, scrutinized. I was told how long I would play, what was to be expected, how long before I had a hip replacement, all these things. Well, heck, I didn't know. I knew that it was a problem, not all the time. And over time, that problem became more infrequent. And I knew my mentality that I could overcome anything. And so Ron was on my side. And I had the right guy on my side. And I can say it now, he picked the right guy, because there was nothing that was going to stop me.
How raw were you, Brett, when you came to Green Bay?
And looking back, had you asked me that question right away, I would have thought, you know, I'm ready. And I think that's part of the beauty of my success is that naive mentality. But as I look back, Mike Holmgren had his work cut out for him. He left a great organization that winning was nothing, and playing the quarterback position was the way it was supposed to be played, and he obviously was a coach that. He had Joe Montana, he had Steve Young. Then he gets me, who, here's a guy that could throw it as far as anyone, could throw it through anything, and that was good, but that was the problem. Why read anything when you can throw it through them? I can remember us sitting in meetings, and very rarely does the head coach sit in there with you, but Mooch would be we'd watch film, and if I knew if it was a suspect game and Mike was in there, it wasn't good. And he would say, what are you looking at here? What are you looking at here? Why'd you make that throw? And Mooch just kind of sat there, and Ty Detmer and Burnell, they would always be laughing, kicking me under the table. Why'd you make that throw? And I was not being sarcastic, but it came across that way. I said, because I can. And that was the truth. So how do you curtail that? How do you, there's a time and place, you know, pick your spots and do those things. And it was always a work in progress, but finding a way to manage me and make it work and harness this talent. That's why Mike Holmgren is the best coach that I've ever played for.
He was a supremely talented young guy who had no fear when he played the position. and really believed that it didn't matter what the circumstances were, he could do this against that. So my job was to kind of allow him to be the gunslinger he was, but try and mold it just a little bit to get all the good stuff and kind of eliminate some of the bad stuff.
Touchdown Packers! At this play.
Mike was hard on Brett, all the quarterbacks. He had very little patience for that position to be efficient. I don't think he cared if it was Brett or someone else. I think he just expected that position to play very well. He was really from scratch, everything that we did with Brett.
I knew what we had, and the faster I could get him to do what I thought he needed to do, that was going to mean everything to our team, to the city of Green Bay. So yeah, I pushed hard, and I want to give him credit, Brett credit, because it's not easy for a talented guy like that who has had success playing the game a certain way. He became a very, very efficient quarterback. He still made these plays no one else can make. But once he learned the offense and knew the offense, boy, he was hard to stop.
If you want to study Brett Favre's career, just watch the first game he played. Because really, it gives you a synopsis of everything the guy was capable of doing. He fumbled the ball. He did the wrong thing on audibles. He made some fantastic throws. He won the game.
Here's Favre. Favre goes straight back in the pocket. Now he pumps it. Now he's going to the end zone. There's a man. He's wide open. Touchdown. It is caught. Kendrick Taylor has scored it. Oh, my goodness.
Was it lucky? Yes. Was it awesome? Yes. Was it crazy? Yes. Was it bad things? Of course. Was it everything in his career that we saw over 16 years in Green Bay happened in that game, you know? And so that was a good start. And then, what, 320-some games later, he's doing the same things.
I can think of no finer moment than in 1992, that pass to Kendrick Taylor. That kid came in there and threw that pass, and a new legend emerged.
Would you say you're proudest of the 321 straight games?
That's the only one that really matters. What drove me was, oh, Brett, he'll be there.
We have a chance today if he's getting dressed.
And that's what I thought about. There's no way I'm letting him down now.
Brett, of all the things, all the skins you have on the wall, and they're considerable, would you say you're proudest of the 321 straight games?
That's the only one that really matters. And I hate to even say that one even matters because I don't want to come across as being a stat guy. But to me, that's not really a stat. You know, stat is completion percentage, touchdowns. None of that happens without you playing. And anyone who's played, of course, you're one of those, anyone who knows anything about the game has to scratch their head like I do and say, damn, that guy is not only tough, but he has got to be half loony. No one does that. No one wants to do that.
Of course, there were many close calls over the course of the streak, but none closer than in '95, when the Packers played the Vikings just 58 games into it.
Chimera into the backfield for the Packers and comes in motion to the right. Here's Favre on second down. Quick pattern over the middle. Knocked away for Mark Ingram.
Oh, Favre is limping pretty badly here.
Yeah, he is. You're right.
His own man fell on his ankle.
Brett is down on the ground, and he's hurting badly.
Sometimes you get players, guys listed on the injury report, you're never quite sure. But I saw his ankle, and he was really hurt. And he did not, and could not practice all week.
I've had sprained ankles. I go over to his ankle, Larry, and it looks like a rainbow. It got some purple, some red, some yellow in there. And Doc McKenzie is just kind of squeezing on it. And he's just looking, and he should be in pain.
He had it in a wrap like crazy in a boot. It was almost like a cast because it had to be so tight. And it right from the start, it was like, hey, he can't, there's no way he's going to get ready to play. We're hoping to get him back in a week or 2 or 3.
Saturday before the game, the trainers are coming up to me, he's coming, I think I might be able to go. So we haven't practiced all week, you know, and I know players like him, they can always go. You go, look, here's what we'll do. Tomorrow we'll see how it feels. You wrap it up. If you go tomorrow, then you'll play. He was hurt, and he did not practice. It was remarkable.
Favre back in the pocket, seems to be running all right. Screenplay to Bennett. Bennett opened it to 15 to the 10, to the 5, touchdown! Here's Favre, play action, Bush, short drop, comes up over the middle, it's caught Brooks 10. Brooks at the 5, touchdown! Play action fake, they're going to throw it into the end zone, 11, touchdown. Favre with an out pattern out there, Robert Brooks, it hung up. He got away, he's going to score, Brooks. Here's Favre, straight back, now he wants to roll to the right, he's coming back to the screen to the left edge of Bennett. The Packers have had a 5th touchdown pass thrown by Brett Favre.
Yeah, my ankle was really beat up. But had I looked back and was able to, you know, to offer myself advice, I probably would have said, you need to sit this one. You know, it's hard enough on 2 good ankles.
You went out 25 or 33, 336 yards, 5 TDs, and you needed every one of them 35-28 victory.
Dang, I forgot that, Larry. I really did. I knew it was a good game, but dang, Brett, you were actually pretty decent. Really good.
Really good.
Maybe I should have played hurt more often. Everything worked in spite of my body. Didn't really work. And that was the beauty of like when I played injured. I don't know if I can think of a time when I played injured where I played bad. That was kind of the springboard really so I could do this for the rest of my career.
I would walk through the locker room in the middle of the week sometimes, and he could hardly walk. He was so bruised from the previous Sunday. And yet, Sunday afternoon, he'd come running out of the tunnel ready to give this franchise and its fans everything he could.
Bad ankles, he got bad hips, he got bad shoulders, bad hands. He's playing. And I think that sets the tenor for everybody else.
The majority of guys watched what he did and said, you know, if he can do it, I can do it. The guys played longer than anybody else on the team. Get out there and play.
To accomplish to do that for 20 years, not miss a game, including playoffs, I mean, you'll never see that again.
Now think about it. Everybody's missed a game. Never missed a game. If he's getting dressed, okay guys, we got a chance today. That's all we ask. That's all God tells you. We have a chance today if he's getting dressed. And he knew it too.
I loved to play, I really did. Doing it with my teammates, laughing, crying, blocking, whatever was important to me. It really was. And over time, when I became injured and it was threatening to maybe the next week, what drove me was, oh, Brett, he'll be there. And that's what I thought about. I said, there's no way I'm letting him down now. My dad, that's what was important to him, football.
He stood in front of all of us, strawberry-faced, crying, emotional, and he told us, my dad would want me to play.
There's no other place I would have rather have been than in Oakland, preparing for that game.
We always heard, well, the Favres, they pitchers and quarterbacks because their daddy's the coach. Yeah, that's true. Urban worked them 3 times as much. They had to run this road every evening when they got home. They had to do sit-ups before they went to bed. He made them work.
Herb loved his kids, and he loved football, and he loved Hancock North Central football. And the competitiveness to him was, we're going to be successful. We're going to do whatever it takes to do that. That's probably the part of him that maybe went into Brett as much as anything, is that I'm going to do whatever it takes to be successful.
I watched him and his daddy go head to head, Urban would call a play, Brett would run something else. And it didn't matter if he made a touchdown. He didn't do what his daddy told him, you know, and they'd be nose to nose.
What was the dinner table like
Oh,
with coach
please.
and players at the same dinner
Not
table?
only dinner, riding home from school, and, you know, we both taught there. And I'd say, look, couldn't you just leave it on the field? Let us eat in peace, or what? But it was constant, constant.
The success you had, how much of it had to do with your mom and your dad and the coaches and a house full of brothers? I mean, how much of that played a role, do you think, in all that success?
I think that more than anything is the reason that I was successful. In our household, there was no room for sissies. I mean, it just, believe me, there was times where I tried to act hurt, or maybe I was a little hurt. Maybe I remember one time in particular, I slid into second base. I must have been 10 or 11. And I think I was thrown out. So I laid there like I was hurt. And I can remember my dad, the scolding that I took on the field was way worse than getting out. And I just remember learning a valuable lesson that if you ain't hurt, don't act like it, you know. And there were many other times that actually maybe I needed a little compassion or a pat on the back, but I wasn't going to get it.
Favre carried it in for a touchdown.
Running the wing tee, running the wishbone does not showcase the talent. It does not say anything about passing. From the outside looking in, if you go back, you would think that he was doing everything wrong. I think he just did what he was doing, and we're just going to play. I'm going to teach him toughness, and there's a lot more important things than just completing 30 passes a game. It was a great environment that obviously worked for me and taught me a lot of things that at the time, maybe my dad and definitely myself had no clue that it was shaping me for the type of player I would be later, because you would think if you never throw, this is not good, Irvin. Your son's not going to have many opportunities, which I didn't, but it did work out.
On December 21st, 2003, Irvin Favre, Brett's father and coach, died suddenly of a heart attack. Brett got the news in Oakland the day before the Packers were scheduled to play the Raiders on Monday Night Football.
You can imagine, it's sort of like when I was traded. I didn't know what to, you know, it was like, what? There was no talk about playing or not playing at that point. It was just kind of, I don't know, consoling, but yet still not believing, you know, just what in the world is going on here? And Mike Sherman was awesome. That team was awesome. There's no other place I would have rather have been in Oakland, preparing for that game.
So my instinct as a family member is do whatever I need to do to support him. If he says he's flying home to Mississippi, no problem, we got this. We'll take care of the Raiders.
Well, I know Coach said if you need him home, he can come. I said his daddy would kick that dirt so far if he didn't play in that game.
I remember speaking to the team. I couldn't even tell you what I said. I just remember it was hard. It was really hard.
He stood in front of all of us, strawberry-faced, crying, emotional, and he told us, my dad would want me to play. He wouldn't want me to sit out. He would want me here. So guys, I'm gonna be here with you.
And yeah, was I choked up? I was choked up. Did I have to talk? No, I didn't. I remember Mike saying, you don't have to do this. And I think one of the things I said is, I hope you have my back. More than any other time in my career, I need it. In 20 years, I've never had any pressure that comes close to what I felt prior to that game.
Everybody was on the same page. Everybody knew what needed to be done on Monday night.
Favre has time, waiting, looks, rainbows deep down the right sideline. Ferguson over the shoulder catch. He's got it. What a throw by Brett Favre.
The focus was that much tighter
because I think we wanted to do it for Brett.
Favre fakes the handoff, bootlegs right, throws the right side of the end zone. Got Walker, touchdown!
We just clicked on all cylinders that night. Whatever Brett threw up there, it came down in the Packers' hand.
I remember Wesley Walls making maybe one of the greatest catches of his career.
Guns the left side of the end zone, and it's diving grab. Oh, what a play!
That ball could be thrown in one spot, and that's just where it was.
It was just one of those special nights where you really looked around and said, there is an angel around here somewhere doing something. I mean, it was truly a phenomenal night.
You get the spikes on the arms because you feel back to that emotion and how impressive that performance was.
We are seeing a special performance tonight by Brett Favre and his receiving corps.
Another chapter in the legend is written tonight.
I felt Brett would have a mediocre game, you know, right down the middle or so. Nothing really bad, but nothing great. But what happened, it's still unbelievable.
I always wanted to play great, but you have no idea. This game will always carry more weight, more meaning than any other one for obvious reasons. And it just happened to be on the biggest stage at that time that it possibly could be on. There was no question I needed to play. I mean, you knew my dad. I mean, you know, people say that, but you know, about their situation. But my dad, that's all. I mean, that's what was important to him, football. And by no means would he say, "Don't play." I wish I had my dad back, but it could not have played out any better considering the circumstances. When you think of Packer football, what do you think of? Ice Bowl, you know, just cold, the smoke's coming out, Bart Starr, Vince Lombardi, just tremendous teams, championships. That's what you remember. Well, there had been a huge lull, obviously, since those times, and that's what everyone was hanging on. They went to the games, you know, they cooked bratwurst, they drank beer and all this, but it was always talking about those days.
From the time Vince Lombardi left in 1968 until the time Ron Wolf arrived in 1991, this franchise struggled terribly. You know, fortunately, most people have forgotten what it was like in the 70s and 80s, but I was here. I went through those years. I know what it was like.
Everybody said this place was dead. This place would never be resurrected. There wasn't a better moment for me personally. 1996, when we won the NFC Championship in Lambeau Field.
Here's Brett Favre back to throw. He looks a lot of time going to the end zone. There's Dorsey, 11. Touchdown, Dorsey. Brett straight back in the pocket. Quick drop. Goes to the outside. There's a fade. It's there. Touchdown, Antonio Freeman. And a perfect throw by Brett Favre. Here's a play action fake handoff. Second guy, Bennett. Walked into the end zone. Edgar Bennett with a hole on the right side that you could drive a truck to the Super Bowl through. Man, we've waited a long time, folks. The Packers are on their way to New Orleans for Super Bowl 31.
Hey, Green Bay, how about this? Guess where we're going?
To have that feeling and that experience, to be able to go through that in front of our fans here in historic Lambeau Field, the cathedral of the National Football League, to me, that's my biggest thrill here.
I can't even explain how I feel. I remember telling this crowd and telling the media before we started the season we were going to a Super Bowl. In 2 weeks, we'll be in New Orleans.
Here we are, finally back to what Packer football should be. That was really the start of a new beginning and the way it should be.
Brett Favre has proved again what a terrific player he is.
I tell you, nobody more deserving than
Brett's
Brett
going
Favre.
home.
Super Bowl 31 played in New Orleans at the Superdome. How big was that for you? I mean, a favorite son of the area leading the Green Bay Packers to a Super Bowl championship.
Again, it's kind of like the right coaches and the right GM. You know, it just all fell in line, and it just was only fitting. I jokingly say this, but The only downside to that is I had to buy too many tickets. And I was way too tight.
Welcome to Super Bowl 31.
He played a lot of games. What do you remember about that one?
You know, I remember two things. Now, if I really sat here and dug deep, I probably could remember more. I remember the audible, I think it was the second play of the game.
Here is the 2nd down and 9. Brett Favre appears to be changing plays at the line of scrimmage. 2 wide receivers right. Chimera is the tight end to the right, and back goes Brett to throw. Here they come. He's got time. He's throwing it downfield.
He's got him.
Wide open. It is going to be a touchdown to Andre Rison. Rison takes it across the goal line.
I think old Brett called the exact right audible for the situation there, Max.
Not only had I not completed that play all year, I hadn't even attempted or even talked to Andre about it. Had I been thinking about it right in the present moment, was able to stop and think about what I was actually doing, I probably would have thought, are you crazy? This ain't gonna work. But yet it did.
Look at Brett Favre coming off the field. He is so happy. His first pass goes for about 50 yards or more. What a great play.
That's when I come off the field holding my helmet, and people probably are like, oh, look, he's like, look at me. What I was saying is, it worked, it worked.
Well, I thought it was great too. I mean, you know, because I used to tell any quarterback I've ever coached, and Brett was no different, that the play I call, I really like. I like the play I called. So if you change it, that's okay, but your play had better work. It better work. But in the biggest game of his career up to that point, and mine, yeah, he saw something, a blitz. He went to a young guy who hadn't been with us very long. And yeah, it was beautiful. When he came off, I remember I said, "Hey, great call."
The one thing that trumps that is halftime. Mike comes in, and you know, this was a long time ago. ZZ Top's playing the halftime show. Well, as soon as he goes to talk, I mean, he's getting ready to start chewing a little butt. Typical Mike, you know, his face is red. You know, here's what we got to do, man. All right, gather around. And like the next, and it's like they just, boom, the music just, it was deafening. They go into legs. You know, I mean, I think it was legs. I mean, it was just boom, boom, boom. And he's like, and I think like 30 seconds into it, he realized that no one could hear it, the word he was saying. I'm not even going to tell you what he mouthed. I think he mouthed. And I just thought to myself, I actually kind of thought going out that we're in trouble because we didn't really hear what adjustments we were going to make. He just kind of the hell with it. And that was it. That was our halftime talk. So people, you know, may wonder, you know, what inspirational speech. It was Legs by ZZ Top.
The Vince Lombardi Trophy is coming home where it started. World champion, Green Bay Packers.
That foursome of Wolf and Holmgren and Favre and White, they get here. We start winning immediately, and 5 years later, they win the Super Bowl and bring the trophy back here for the first time in 29 years. The turnaround was not only solid, but it was so fast. We couldn't have done that without a Brett Favre quarterback.
I have no idea what's going to happen next, but it's going to be exciting.
He starts to run, I go, no, no. Didn't you not listen to a single thing I said?
Freeman trying to adjust to it, and it's incomplete.
Wait a second.
Wait a minute. Freeman takes it out.
One of the first people there was Brett Favre asking me, "What are you doing? Did you catch the ball? Did you catch it?"
He played differently than any quarterback I'd ever seen.
Blue, 58, 36.
Just some of his incredible plays, some of the passes, you know, where, you know, he'd scramble around and looks like he's just kind of throwing the ball up, and, you know, but it's right on target.
Every snap that kid would take, everybody's just on the edge of their chair going, I have no idea what's going to happen next, but it's going to be exciting.
There's always that, always be ready mentality when you're with Favre, because you never know when you're going to get the ball.
Later on in my career, he'd just say my name. He'd say, Chewy, Chewy, Chewy. I go, oh, I got you.
and I'd break off my route.
Now he wants to throw back left. Now he wants to throw again in the end zone. That's good. Shimura.
If it worked, great. You know, if it didn't, Mike would always say, stop drawing things up in the dirt.
Would you say this about Brett? He completed passes that nobody could, but he also attempted passes that
nobody would. Yes and yes.
In Milwaukee County Stadium, I called our last timeout, and I think we're about on the 9-yard line, something like that. We have enough time for 2 pass plays. I said, there's 2 things that can't happen. You can't get sacked, and you can't run. He runs in there. He runs in there, runs the play. He doesn't throw the ball. And he starts to run. I go, no, no. And he scored by this much. Did you not listen to a single thing I said? He goes, I knew I could score. He goes, I knew I could get in. I go, okay, okay. That was one of those games.
The Monday Night Miracle, 2000 against the Minnesota Vikings. It is overtime.
Another moment where Favre improvises. I think Brett sees an all-out blitz. He changes the play. It appeared Chris Dishman made a pretty decent defensive play.
Freeman trying to adjust to it, and it's incomplete. Nearly intercepted by Chris Dishman.
But he didn't finish the play.
Wait a second. Wait a minute.
It
Freeman
bounced
picked
into
it up.
Freeman's hands.
It bounced into his hands. He takes it in the end
Touchdown,
zone.
we win.
Touchdown. Packers win.
I felt something tap my left shoulder, and then I see this brown object still on the decline. I was able to stick my hands out in enough time, cuff the ball, make my way into the end zone, and one of the first people there was Brett Favre asking me, what are you doing? Did you catch the ball? Did you catch it? And I said, yes, I caught it. Yes, I caught it.
I don't think I can remember a player that seemed to enjoy playing as much as he did.
His ability to have fun and to be excited just to play the game. It doesn't matter if you're in the 3rd grade or if you're an all-pro for the Green Bay Packers. I think it was the same for him. And I think people that have played the game appreciated that aspect of his game.
I loved to play, I really did. And so I didn't love to play. I wasn't one of those that loved to play when things were good. I loved to play regardless. If we were down by 21, I wanted the ball in my hands with a minute left. What are the chances of you winning it? I knew it was, but I wanted to keep going. I never saw the odds, whether they be in our favor or against. I loved to play.
We didn't care about the percentages, Larry. We wanted the results. And if the results was 6 interceptions against the Rams, we'll live with that. Because we need that player. That's the player we need. We'll go get it back. That's why we had the #1 defense. Use us. Make those throws. We'll go get it back. And we did get it back, and it worked great.
With Brett, that's the way he played. That's the way he practiced. He did everything that way, whether it was golf or it was hunting or whatever it was always to win, and it was always to be the best.
Brett drops back under severe pressure, throws a bomb, and it goes for a 99-yard touchdown reception.
Brett kind of laughed. He said, "You're not gonna believe this is what Mike just called sluggo." And it's like, we had this saying. We would always say, "Let's eat." And that meant, let's go make a play, let's go make it happen, let's go get it done. And so Brett and I looked at each other and said, let's eat, and the rest was history.
I talked about Brett leading us, putting the ball where we always wanted it. And I just remember flying, feeling like I had wings, flying over this guy. Coming up with the ball, I had to come down with it, and that's kind of the responsibilities our receivers felt whenever he threw us the ball. We all respected in him, and we loved him for his leadership, and he took us to a lot of places that we may not have ever been able to go to.
My legacy, I hope, is not determined by statistics. There was a little bit of everything. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But I was not afraid to take that chance. And, had I not taken that chance on a lot of the times of my career, I'd have just been okay.
His thing is going to be the love of the game, the way he played. and the way that he was always there and you could count on him, I think those are probably the two biggest pieces of his legacy.
Availability and accountability. I think if you're trying to teach a young guy how to be successful in the NFL, when you talk about availability, I mean, you just think of number 4.
The moment was never too big for him. If anything, it made him a better player. Some guys kind of cower and don't want to be in that moment. But when you see that your leader is a take charge type of guy, you just pile on and say, hey, we're riding your back, take us there.
He played the game a certain way for sport, for competition, for enjoyment, for his teammates, for the fans. That's how he felt the game should be played. We need more of that.
He did things on the field that nobody has ever done before. Obviously, the 3 straight MVPs is incredible. He won a Super Bowl, but the starting streak is one that I don't think ever be touched again. That Iron Man reputation fits him really well.
Where would this city be without Brett Favre? I look at what the Green Bay Packer history is today, and I wonder where we would be had we not made that trade for number 4.
He was a super talented guy who was a wild stallion. You know, I think on and off the field. It would have been maybe easier just to let him be. He was like the son I never had. And I'm glad he was kind of forgiven me for how hard I was on him at times. But I did it because I love the guy.
We witnessed this wonderful place here, Lambeau Field, where the Packers play. And all the building that's done here and the reconfiguration around the stadium. I mean, that's all Brett Favre. Brett Favre brought a winning tradition back to the Green Bay Packers. In my 38 years, he is the best player I've ever been around. I've been around some pretty good ones, but he is the best I've ever been around. You get one of those in a lifetime, and that was my one.
During Ron's long and illustrious and now Hall of Fame career, he said you were the greatest player he ever saw.
Well, you can give me medals, you can give me trophies, you can plaques, whatever, but I've always just been a player. And there's nothing that means more than to hear things like that, especially from a guy like Ron Wolf, who's seen some great players. As proud as he is of his decision, and I know of me, I'm equally as proud of him, and also of the fact that I made him right. You know, that means something to me.
Brett, Hall of Fame, jersey retirements, things like that bring about talk of legacy. What do you care about?
My legacy, I hope, is not determined by statistics. I know this, that all those records will be broken, maybe some later than others. The consecutive starts, maybe a little bit later.
Maybe never.
Maybe never. So there was a little bit of everything. There was times where my talent really paid off, and like that throw to Kittrick Taylor and some of those throws on that last drive, the throw to Sterling Sharp in the playoffs at Detroit when I was rolling to my left. You know, Ty Detmer would always say, I would never make that throw. I would never have that touchdown because I would never even attempt it. I just know better. And where I would say, what's the big deal? And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But I was not afraid to take that chance. And, you know, had I not taken that chance on a lot of the times of my career, I'd have just been mediocre. I wouldn't have been good. I probably wouldn't have been bad. I just would have been okay. And I'd much rather be what I am now than just okay.
Brett, I'm going to bust through something. You don't have to think a lot about any of this, but inquiring minds like my mind want to know. Can you still juggle 3 footballs?
I can.
Does it take much practice?
No, it doesn't. It might just it'll take me 20 seconds or so to kind of get my.
Is it true you caught an alligator on like a little old fishing pole out in Rotten Bayou behind your mom's and had plans to sell it and so forth?
I don't know if I had plans to sell it. But I think I had plans to like, come look at our alligator. I didn't really think about, it's an alligator. But yeah, that is true.
Your mother was kind of bragging yesterday that you can pick up a softball with your toes. Is that true?
I could, but my feet are terrible feet, and I got a bunion on my big toe that has grown, you know, so big toe. So I can't spread them. It's kind of like that.
Final thing for you. What was it like rooming with a touchy-feely guy like Frankie?
I was so thankful when we went to shotgun that I didn't have to put my hands under his rear anymore. He would get in the bed, buck naked, and I had to watch him like climbing, and I'm like, Frank, really? Do it, I can't sleep in shorts. He was the best.
Boy, I don't know where to start. I have to admit, part of me, I don't know if embarrassed is the right word. You know, I've always taken pride in how I played and work ethic and things of that nature. And I had always dreamed of playing pro football, no different than any other kid across the country. When I had a baseball glove in my hand, I dreamed of playing Major League Baseball. When I had football in my hand, it was football. And all I dreamed about as a kid was being Archie Manning or Roger Staubach, who were my favorites. I never dreamed of being in the Hall of Fame, never dreamed of having my jersey retired, never dreamed of Pro Bowls. Yes, did I dream of playing in the Super Bowl? Absolutely. I often would dream about what it would be like to run out of the tunnel and people cheer your name and you know, and as I say all that, all of the dreams that I had have come true and then some. I didn't dream of playing 18 straight years without missing a game. That never crossed my mind. Now, I always wanted to play and play every week. I wanted to play in preseason. I wanted to play. I didn't necessarily want to practice, didn't necessarily want to sit in meetings, but that was part of it. And so, as I stand before you, you know, I can honestly say that everything has come true and then some, and not many people can say that. And to have Frank and Mike and Ron and Bob and Mark say all these nice things about me, don't get me wrong, you know, I'm extremely thankful and blessed, but it's a little embarrassing. Frank was a great player. Mike was a great coach. The best GM in all of football. Yes, I'm biased too, Ron Wolf. I could go on talking about these guys. I understand that this night is quote unquote about me, but I would choose to say it's about us because it really is. You know, I've always thought that being a quarterback, you get way too much credit. You probably get a little more of the blame. We shouldn't be labeled with wins and losses. A pitcher maybe, not a quarterback. But yet we do. I can assure you that my success is strictly based upon these guys behind me, the other teammates that I played with, the fans. You know, I just had to work hard and do all I could do and rely on these guys. And that's why I'm here today. It has nothing to do with me. But again, I'm extremely honored. And that's probably an understatement. By the end of the night, you know, I think we're all probably going to be tired of hearing Brett Favre stories. But I'm extremely grateful for first of all, the opportunity that Ron gave me. One of the only regrets I have is that I didn't get to play with Mike longer, which I can put that blame off on him. But he and I both know, because we've talked about this numerous times, that had we had a chance to play and he coached me for more years, I think there would have been, I truly believe there would have been more championships. Even though it's hard to get there, it's hard to go back and it's hard to win them. That's not taking anything away from what we accomplished. I wish I'd had a chance to play longer with Frank. If he wouldn't have been 6 or 7 years older than me, we probably would have. But the things just came in. It was like the stars fell in line at the right time. And I have people tell me all the time that, how did a boy from South Mississippi come to Green Bay and play in that cold weather and play well? You know, Bart Starr did it and did it quite well. If you truly love to play the game, you play it no matter what, just regardless of conditions. And you got to have a great cast, and I had a great cast, and that starts from the very top to the very bottom. And I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful to be here tonight.
Did this feel like a long time coming?
No, not really. Again, I never lost sleep over thinking about, will they put me in the Hall of Fame? Will they retire my jersey? Because I go back to what I said initially, that was never on my list. Is it a great honor? Absolutely, it's a great honor. But I didn't wait by the phone for Bob or Mark to call me. The body of work that I did was not perfect by any stretch, but I felt like it spoke for itself. And I'm not saying that from it spoke for itself to get me into the Hall of Fame. That was not for me to decide. What I'm thankful for is I had an opportunity and I made the most of it. Again, not perfect, but I made the most of it. And, you know, it's like when people say, you know, is he the greatest player, or who is he in the top? I could care less about that. I really, you know, if I sat around and worried about if they placed me in the top 10 at all time, or will I be in the Hall of Fame, or will I get my jersey, then, you know, you worry yourself to death, because not everyone believes what the next guy believes. And I believe that what I did speaks for itself. And I'm proud of that. That's good enough for me.
Brett, how emotional will that be for you tonight, going out on the field with selling out in 4 hours?
You know, I don't think it really will be that emotional, and I think this is, and Mike said this, I think it's more of a celebration. It has, driving over here just now, I mean, it had to feel like that we were playing a game. And I think it'll have that feel to it throughout the night as we celebrate. This is a celebration, I think, for not just me, it's for all of us. Because these guys behind me definitely had a hand in, a big hand in my success. And to me, it's about all of us. And I don't see any sad moments. I mean, this is, I'm ready to tee it up. You know, I mean, I'd much rather do that than wear this, trust me. And I think these guys feel the same way. And I'm just going to kind of have fun with the night. I really am. Now, I hope I don't boo-hoo and cry, but I really hope I don't. But if I do, the heck with it, you know. So be it.
Right. In all the years you were down here doing these news conferences, when you said goodbye to retirement, you did boo-hoo and cry.
Once. You made it sound like it was like 12 times.
But I think that's what people connected with you. You wore your emotions on your sleeve.
Absolutely. Well, they'll say I keep them in check. Then I didn't keep them too well in check. Actually, I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I think the advice that I've gotten from people in regards to this night is to be yourself. Will that be read something off of a piece of paper or a teleprompter? I don't know. Do I have that in case? Yes, but more than likely, I just go off the cuff and just speak from the heart. I know what I want to say. The question is, how do I say it? And for me, I've worried myself sick thinking about how I do that, when probably that's the easiest thing I'll do. And I don't know what that will be. I really don't. But I think, much like the way I played, who knew what was going to happen?
The way that the fans reacted to your departure, what does it mean to you that 70,000 or about 70,000 fans in about an hour and a half snapped up tickets, bought tickets to tonight's?
I was absolutely in awe when I got word that it sold out in an hour and a half or 2 hours. And my youngest daughter, who just recently turned 16, and I'm sure tonight you'll hear some of these things again. But I thought, you have to know my daughter. She's really shy. She's timid. She doesn't get caught up in, she'd rather stay home and watch TV than go to the ESPYs or come do this. And she comes home from school, and I'd already heard the news that they had sold so many tickets. And I wasn't going to say, hey, Breeley, guess what? But she comes home, and uncharacteristically, she says, hey, Dad, did you hear they sold 67,000 tickets in an hour and a half? And I said, yeah. She goes, they must really like you. And for her, that's saying a lot. But it says a lot about the whole situation. If there were ever any doubts prior to tickets going on sale, they're not anymore. And what a way to show that you're welcome back into the family. Just what an honor. And I'll be honest with you, and I mean no disrespect by this. I am more honored by that than by the Hall of Fame induction in itself. And I think that is such a tribute to the fans. And that's why Green Bay is Green Bay. Simple as that.
Brett, thinking about the fans tonight, obviously their interest, but that moment when you were able to reconnect with them during the ceremony, how much have you thought about that moment and what are your expectations for that? How meaningful that was for you?
Well, it's very meaningful. How you portray that is the key. But again, instead of me worrying about it, I think you just let it go. You tell them how you feel, and you be genuine. And honestly, that's the only way I know how to do it. To me, I don't really have a message in the speech. That's not really me, other than the people who were important to me in my stay here. The obvious people, coaches, administration, definitely the players. But there's so many people within this building that people don't know and would not know their names that are very important to me and are essential to me being here before you right now. And the fans, and the other point is the fans. I think there was really a connection. Maybe, I think at this point, we all believe that there was definitely a connection, and we saw that with the ticket sales. We see that today. It's got a game atmosphere. There was a connection, and I think the players and the people who've been a part of this organization can honestly say that there is a connection with the fans here that you can't get elsewhere. And look, I played elsewhere. It was an awesome feeling to come back here as an opponent, to witness what this is like for the other team. And I had a newfound respect, which is hard because I had a lot of respect for this place anyway, to see it from that perspective. And even though I was shaking in my boots when I came out of the tunnel, there was part of me that was like, damn, this is impressive. Tough, but impressive. And it is. And Mike can say that. He came back. I mean, you want to win, but it's like, wow, man, you're up against a lot. And it's just a special place. And I want to relay that message to the people tonight. And coming back, how they've opened their arms it's not surprising. It really isn't.
Brett, once this is all over with, what do you think your future involvement will be with maybe coming back here or just things for the organization?
You know, we haven't discussed that. You know, how much I'll come back, I don't know. I'll say this, that, and I know you have kids, our 16-year-old plays volleyball, and if I had 2 other kids, I don't think I could do it. Following them around it's not like it used to be. It's a year-round job, and the things that you do for your kids, right? We'll do anything possible. So maybe we can get a volleyball tournament up here one weekend, and maybe Mark could set that up. That's the least he could do. But I don't know I don't know. We haven't really talked about it. I'm thankful that I was invited back for this ceremony tonight and in November, and not to change the subject, but I'm hoping that Bart Sr., I've got my fingers crossed that he'll be here for that ceremony, and Bart Jr. has promised me he's going to be here, that we're getting him in tip-top shape. So I'm looking forward to that. What happens in between, I don't know.
What do you hope fans remember most about you, all the fans sitting up there and watching this?
One more time.
What do you hope they remember most about you?
Well, you know, it'd be interesting if you went out and asked. I'd kind of be interested to hear what they say too. I mean, you'd probably have a potluck of answers. But, you know, for me, and again, some of this will be redundant and you'll hear it again tonight, but I know we're here because of football. I understand that. I think what I did was pretty good. I think it was fun to watch. You know, it wasn't always great, but it was fun to watch. But a good man who has definitely made a lot of mistakes, but I think what people relate to me is the genuineness and just real. I'd like to think that when they look at my career or watch me play, that they thought, that's the way I would do it. You know, if I could play, I would do it that way. And, you know, he's not polished in his interviews, but you know what? I wouldn't be polished either. And he's not polished in the way he plays. But I don't want to say I took pride in that. That's just the way I was. And I wish we would have won more games. I wish we'd have won more Super Bowls. But you know what? I did all I could possibly do. And it wasn't great all the time, but I know it was everything. And I don't look back and hold any regrets from that end, because I know I did all I could do. I just wish it would have been a little bit more, but it was all I could do, and I think people genuinely appreciate that.
You know, from your time as a player, when they have those alumni weekends, Don Hudson would come back and tell the stories of the Lambeau era and Marsh, and those players would come back and talk about the greatness of the Lion era. Have you thought about moving forward, you know, to hold on to that legacy of what you guys did in that?
Well, I haven't really thought a lot about it. And I think as time goes by, that will become more and more important. I found that, much like all of us, I'm sure, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but as you get older, you find that things that you thought really mattered at a younger age don't matter at all. Things that you worry about at 21, at 45, you're like, oh my gosh, what an idiot. And you're kind of worried about things that are of importance that day or that week. And you don't really think about legacy and long-term things until later on. And what we did, I know, is very special. It's not 4 Super Bowls, but in my mind, it's equally as important, because as Bob said, and some of the others, a resurgence, if you will, of this organization. It was always really a great organization, but it just kind of got, I don't want to say boring, but everyone was sort of used to just being okay at best. And everyone was living, I heard the Lombardi years, the glory days, I heard that so many times because that's what you had to hold on to. And taking nothing away from what those guys did back then. Really, if anything, it's much respect to them. That's all you had to talk about. For us to be able to be a part in turning that around, and all of a sudden now you're just kind of used to winning. And you know, the fear is that you don't get too used to winning. You stay hungry, and that's the key. That's what Mark is up against. But I take pride in that everyone's kind of used to winning now. It's not a bad thing. We were the ones who kind of started that off.
What was it like last night or whenever you came in, and then just going around Green Bay today, yesterday?
You know, it's funny because I got in late. Mike was mad. He blamed Frank for it. Some things never change. But we actually came in from LA. We got in late, went right up, and got to see all these guys. And it really didn't hit me. It was great to see them, but it didn't have that like back where it started type until I walked into the tunnel, you know, last night. And I was telling Aaron, I walked in like coming in from the field up the tunnel, took a left, went into the double doors. It was like I never left, and it was really it was a great feeling. It was kind of weird because I'd been here for a couple hours, had just walked off of Lambeau, but it's kind of funny how things are triggered. But then it was kind of like a sigh of relief almost. Staying in the Radisson, Lord knows how many times we've done that, you know, and I almost felt like ordering me a cheeseburger and fries, and as I did before every game. But it started kind of settling back in as being normal again.
But if your dad and Reggie could be here tonight, what would they say about you and your career?
Lord only knows what my dad would say. It probably wouldn't be good enough, you know. Hell, you know, I thought he should have played 4 more years, or who knows. I know he would be proud. I say that sort of jokingly. And the same thing with Reggie. Reggie gave me Reggie was phenomenal. The greatest player I've ever played with. And that's saying a lot. I played with Deion Sanders in Atlanta, played with tons of great players here. The greatest player I ever played with was Reggie White. The man could change the game. All you had to do was just chant Reggie a few times, and the left tackle, the right tackle was in for, you know, a world of hurt. But he was also a great leader, and you know, I don't know what I think Reggie would say, soak it in. And one of the things that he told me after he retired, he said, I'm telling you, one thing you're gonna miss is not football. And I thought, he's crazy. I haven't missed football. I've missed Mike chewing my butt, rooming with Frank, you know, bus rides. And we used to have a good time cutting up with all the coaches. We never picked on Mike, but we were able to pick on some of the others. And that's what I miss. I don't miss 3rd and 15, you know, in the Metrodome, and we haven't won a game there in 8 years. I don't miss that. I miss the camaraderie with the guys. I miss the things that what Reggie told me I would miss. He's right. It's less about the game and more about the people.
A couple more questions.
When you talk about those people, you said last week that it was the perfect storm with Mike and Ron and Reggie and all the pieces. When you look back on that year ago, is it remarkable that all those people came together and made this team do what it did and helped you do what you did? I mean, are you just...
Well, remarkable is one way of putting it, but I think it happens, you know. I remember not that long ago, but Washington put together kind of a who's who of talent. If you remember, I think there was Bruce Smith and Deion Sanders, and there was a lot of guys. And I think Baltimore has tried that. And I may have the teams wrong, but then they go 8-8. They just we were such a good team, not because we were so great individually. You know, I'm here today, but back then, Mike had thought about making a switch numerous times. I knew that, so I wasn't all that then. We were made up of a bunch of guys who just honestly, we loved to play, and we loved to play together, and it just happened to be a great fit. But the reason it was a great fit, and he will never, never take the credit, is because of Ron Wolf. Isn't the mark of a great GM a man who can make it fit, find those guys? They don't have to be star players, but they have to fit what we're trying to do. I didn't know what we were trying to do. I didn't understand what 72X shallow cross meant. You know, Mike, he called the plays and tried to find out what worked. He made it work. It took time. But Ron had to find the guys that fit. Frank Winters is a perfect example. He'd gotten lost in the shuffle. He wasn't drafted. He followed Marty Schottenheimer around. He's a deep snapper. No one knew who he was. He was a Plan B free agent. They don't even have that anymore. And now he's in the Green Bay Packer Hall of Fame. That's something that Ron Wolf saw, as well as so many other players that I don't want to say were cast-offs, because he was able, it was a melting pot of so many different personalities and different characteristics, but it sure worked.
Is there a final question in your career that sticks out in your mind that kind of sums up your time as a Green Bay Packer?
Well, boy, that's a tough one. Yeah, I do have a lot. I do have a lot. It sort of runs together after a while. You know, I think there's not really one particular moment. I think for really us, when we lost in Dallas, it seemed like we lost every year for a long time. There was one particular time when Ron, on the sidelines, we were in old Cowboy Stadium, and he may remember better than I, or we both actually maybe don't remember all that well, but he came over and it was a tough loss. I think it was one of those that we almost won. Almost won. There was like one where we got blown out, but we were really close, and they were good. It may have been, you know, I think we lost maybe 3 years in a row there or something. It seemed like that. And Ron came over, and Ron, he said more tonight than he's probably said in a year. But he said, we're going to get these guys. You know, I don't remember verbatim what he said, but it was kind of like, damn, Ron's talking. You know, it's E.F. Hutton, you know. But that was kind of, to me, I didn't really want to play Dallas again. I did, but I didn't. You know, I wanted them to have a couple of injuries maybe and take a wrong turn or whatever. But we were so close, and I didn't know how close we were because the next year we were there. But that was kind of, we just kind of got beat up. We were so close, and we just were hungry. And I'll say this about Mike, and I'll say a lot of stuff tonight, but Mike, I think the world of him as a man and as a coach. One of the things that he was so great at doing, he was really great. He was great at chewing my butt too, by the way. But he was so great at making us believe we could win against anyone. And I say that because I played 20 years, and long after Mike had left, I remember sitting in meeting rooms, whether it be here or elsewhere. And as I got older, I started seeing things like a coach. I'd been around as long as a coach. In fact, some of my coaches were younger than me. And I remember sitting there, and I'd be looking at other teams' roster or their record, and I knew all about them. And I would think to myself, we don't stand a chance in hell against this team. And I was right. But I wouldn't tell anyone that. I would get in the huddle. I would, at practice, say, look, hey, we can beat these guys. And I started thinking, I guess that's what Mike did, you know, because I believed it. I'm like, damn, I think we can beat them. And then, you know, you play long enough, you start thinking, I don't know. But the mark of a good leader, good coach, great leader, is one that can make you believe. I mean, it's one of there's other things too, but he made us believe we could win those games and we could beat anyone. And I think that was a huge part of our success as well.
It has been a great experience to play with Brett. I've had the fortunate to share rooms with him for 11 years, to be in a huddle with the guy, to go to battle with him for our games, the playoffs, Super Bowls and stuff like that. And I'm just like Ron. I tell people I was very fortunate to play with Brett Favre and to be a friend of his. And I do consider him one of the greatest Packer players ever to play, and I've said that publicly before, and I still stand by it. It was a true honor to play under Ron, Mike, Mr. Harlan. We had some great times. In the beginning, when we all first got here, it was a little tough. I never forget, on Tuesday we'd go to the revolving door. On Tuesday, Ron would have about 6 or 7 guys come in. Everybody's worried about their job and stuff, so it was never really safe. But you know, we worked hard. And we had a great leader in Brett. We went through some growing pains, but in the end, it turned out, and the rest is history. And like the guys behind me, I'd like to thank everybody for being out here today. It is a great honor to be part of this celebration here in Green Bay, and we're glad to have Brett back in Green Bay. And I just want to wish him the best of luck, and we're going to have a great time tonight. And it's a great honor to be introducing him to a great friend, and in my opinion, one of the best football players ever played.
Mississippi, number 4, Brett Favre. Well, I guess, Brett, all that's left is to say hi. And if I can ask the obvious question, if I can interpret a 5-minute standing ovation, the fans are saying, welcome back. It's glad to have you back.
All I can say is, wow, wow. This is absolutely amazing. I don't have the words to express the feeling of coming out of that tunnel to this ovation. Thank you. Thank you so much. If there were any doubts before, there's not any. I truly thank you. My youngest daughter, Breely. The day that tickets went on sale, she came home from school and she said, "Dad, 67,000 tickets were sold in an hour and a half." She said, "They must really like you." Thank you so much.
You mentioned exiting that tunnel. Was it like a game day? Did you get the butterflies all over again? What were you thinking?
It was worse. Oh, it was better, but worse. I mean that with all due respect. Playing in Lambeau Field, throwing a touchdown at Lambeau Field, certainly running out of the tunnel, there's nothing like it on this earth. And I'll say this, I've also run out of that tunnel, and that was scary. I'd much rather go out of that tunnel right there.
I know earlier today you said you weren't going to get emotional, but I can see there's tears in your eyes. This means something to you, doesn't it?
How can it not? How can it not? I knew there was a lot of tickets sold. I figured there would be a lot of people in the stands. But I wasn't expecting this type of ovation. All I can say is I hope it was as much fun for them watching me as it was for me to do it every week. Everyone who watched me play knew that I was having fun, that I was trying my very best to win every ball game. I enjoyed my teammates. When I was fortunate enough to throw a touchdown pass, I wanted to celebrate with my teammates. I wanted to celebrate with my fans. And I think every fan who watched felt like if they could play, they would play like me. And you know, the way I played, the way I answered questions, and I hope the way I dealt with my teammates and the fans was real and genuine. Because I'd like to think it was.
Yes, it was. As the years go by, Brett, how do you think about him? Do you think about the Kittrick-Taylor touchdown that kind of started the legend, the 5-touchdown game against the Bears where nobody knew if you were going to play, the NFC Championship game? How do you rank all that stuff?
You know, what I honestly think about is not so much those particular moments. It's the connection I have with the fans and the players, and the bus rides, in meetings, TV timeouts, where we could just be ourselves, sitting in meetings together. Obviously, there's so many great games, so many great moments, and to share it with these fans, believe me, I have played elsewhere. There is nothing like this place. There's absolutely nothing like it. Where else can you get this many people in a stadium when there's not a game? Where else? Where else can you get this many people when there is a game? Only here. It's incredible.
I know history means something to you, so what does it mean to go into the Packers Hall of Fame and have your jersey retired?
When I look at the Packer Hall of Fame, I believe in my heart that it rivals the NFL Hall of Fame in magnitude. I've always felt that way. I look up at these names. There's tremendous history, tradition here. The greatest coach in the history of the NFL has a trophy named after him. He's from here. Some of the greatest players in NFL history, if not the greatest players, are Green Bay. And to be alongside Bart Starr, Don Hudson, Reggie White, Willie Wood, Willie Davis, Jerry Kramer, the list goes on and on. Nitschke. These guys they're icons. And I'm truly honored and blessed to be not only before you tonight, but to be here forever. I have to admit, I'm a little bit embarrassed that all this is for me. I really am. I love to play football. I loved it. I dreamed of playing football. I dreamed of playing in the Super Bowl. I never dreamed of standing here before you in a moment like this. So this is way beyond what I dreamed of, and I am so honored. I could sit here and tell you thank you till tomorrow, and it wouldn't be enough. I'm honored. But I want you to know I celebrate this with you and my teammates in that room, as we did it together. And I thank you.
From everybody here in attendance around the world, Packers fans, football fans in general, thank you. Enjoy your night. Soak it in. Well deserved.
To start the jersey retirement ceremony, we start at the top with the man who saw greatness when many didn't. It is indeed an honor to introduce the architect of the Packers' return to glory and soon to be enshrined Pro Football Hall of Famer Ron Wolf.
I've often been asked, who is the best player in your 38 years in the National Football League? Ladies and gentlemen, that player is being honored here tonight with his jersey being retired and his placement into the Packers Hall of Fame. He was blessed with the right stuff to make him a star anytime, anywhere. Brett, you're the best. No question about that.
I'd like to invite Packers President and CEO Mark Murphy to the stage to officially retire Brett Favre's jersey number 4.
You know, I've been involved with the NFL since my playing days, started in the 70s, and I don't think there's a single player in all the time that I'm involved with the NFL that's had a bigger impact on a team and an organization than Brett Favre has had on this team. So it is really outstanding to be able to do it. If you would all join me now, knock on wood, these things are supposed to work. We practiced it earlier. We will now unfurl the Brett Favre number 4.
Here to put the exclamation point on the retiring of number 4 is nothing short of a coaching legend. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Mike Holmgren.
We lost the opener against Minnesota, then got beat pretty handily by Tampa Bay. So we're playing Cincinnati at home. We're down 14-0, and I sat on the sideline and I said to myself, I am going to be the shortest tenured head coach in the history of this league. I am not going to be able to win a game, and I'm out of here. And then Don got hurt. Brett goes in the game. And honestly, a lot of weird stuff happened in that game. I'm calling plays, and he's running other plays, and he was. I'm not sure he expected to play all that much, but now he's in the game, so he had to play. And so we come down, and then he throws those 2 touchdown pass to win the game. I think he got very excited, took off his helmet, was running around, you know. But what he forgot was he had to hold for the PAT, and the game was tied. We needed to kick the PAT. Last game in Milwaukee, at the Milwaukee County Stadium. We had 15 seconds to go, no timeouts. We're on about the 9-yard line, 8-yard line. We called our last timeout. He comes over, and we need this win now. This is an important game. And I said, okay, I'm calm, you're calm, everything's good here. I said, there are 2 things that can't happen. I'm going to call 2 pass plays. There's 15 seconds to go. You cannot take a sack, and you cannot run. And he goes, I said, you got it? He goes, I got it. So I call the pass play, he drops back to pass, scrambles around, and he starts to run. And as been written many times, my famous, no, you might have seen it on the sidelines, I'm yelling, no, 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 yes, yes. So in typical Brett Favre style, he comes over to the sideline. Now I'm happy, everyone's happy, but I gotta know why the miscommunication. I said, did you listen to me? I told you you couldn't run. He goes, Mike, I knew I could make it. He made it by this much, if you see it on the film. People think that we didn't get along very well and that I was probably too hard on him. And I, at times, I was. But the reason I was I recognized how talented he was and what he could do. I wasn't right about everything, but I was right about that. And I knew, yeah. And I knew it was my job. I was really hired to harness that energy a little bit and to teach him, the offense, teach him and help him be a better player. And so I've had the privilege of coaching some great quarterbacks in my career. Been very fortunate that way. But I got to tell you, he was like the son I never had. And after I left, he went on to great things with great coaches. Okay, they're in the audience tonight. Fabulous guys who just extended what we started. But I've never forgotten our time together. And tonight, I'd just like to say congratulations and thank you.
The other thing I would ask you to do is once again look at the 6 who have had their number retired. Every one of them is the greatest. They're the best of the best, the greatest of the greatest. And yet, only one of them, Brett Favre, will have this dual ceremony. And that is going to take place right now. So I'm going to ask his presenter, one of our own Hall of Famers, the great Frankie Winters, to come up and present Brett for induction into the Green Bay Packer Hall of Fame. Frankie?
One thing we always talk about is Brett's records. I think the most proudest one he's really proud of is the 321 consecutive starts. I think it was 290 something, including playoffs, 321. He led the NFL, I think, until recently in completions, yardage, touchdowns, attempts, and last but not least, interceptions. We used to have this drill. It was called the cover drill. Marco the Test, who had, and all the offensive line here, we would have drills in practice where we would drop back and we would pass block, and Tom Lovat would yell, "Cover!" And we're like, why the hell are we covering for? Well, that was just in case Brett threw an interception. We became defensive players at that time. Okay, without any further ado, I'd like to bring up Brett here and formally introduce him here to the 2015 Green Bay Packer Hall of Fame. Come on up, Brett.
I think the first thing I want to do is tell you about the first time that I ever came to Green Bay. I had never, it was probably a week after I was traded. Wouldn't you say, Bus? Bus and I, my agent, we flew up, never been to Green Bay before, had never been to Wisconsin. And so we land, tells you how high on the totem pole I was. We had to take a cab to the hotel. No one was there to pick us up. And this is, honest to God, a true story. We get in the cab, we're on our way to, I think it was the Midway or Best Western. And Bus is really a jokester. If you think I'm a jokester, he really is. And he likes to poke and prod. And he says to the cab driver, so this is Green Bay. This is where football, he's egging the guy on, talking about Packer football. And so the cab driver bites on it and he says, oh yeah, now this is where football is football. Something like that. And Bus goes, yeah, I heard you guys traded for some quarterback or something, as a guy from the South, some crazy trade. Oh, he goes, oh yeah, big troublemaker. Loves to fight. In fact, he's been in Sidewinders a couple of times already fighting. Well, I had never been to Green Bay. And so he goes, guy's name is Trish. I have no idea where he came up with Trish, but the other part of the story is true except for Sidewinders. I did get in a couple scuffles from time to time, but Bus never told the guy who we were. And I wondered today if that guy knows that this is Trish. As I listen to all this tonight, I have to admit it's kind of a Brett Favre overkill, but I'm honored by it. I truly am honored by it. Don't get me wrong. But this is a celebration that is the fans, coaches, and I look out there and I see so many familiar faces. It brings back so many great memories. I knew I said I wasn't going to do that, but what the hell, you know? This is a special night for me. It's a special night for my family. It's a special night for friends. I know it's a special night for you. And it's just an awesome experience. And I'm extremely grateful for that. I want to thank Ron Wolf. Ron Wolf, I said this in my press conference today, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. He will never, ever point the finger at himself and take any credit. That's the type of man Ron is. But the reason this building looks the way it does, the reason we are in here in this awesome setting, the reason that the Packers have been to the playoffs 17 of maybe the last 21 or some odd years. That reason is because of Ron Wolf, I can assure you. There's a lot of reasons why Green Bay is special, a lot of reasons. And the most important reason is the people. It's as simple as that. I mean, there's no other reason. In my press conference earlier, a lot of the questions, my answers they're kind of redundant, but they're so true. One of the hardest things I've ever had to do was go out on that field today. And honestly, before I walked out that tunnel, I thought it was going to be one of the easier things I had to do. But I have to admit, the reception was, it's hard to even put in words. And I'm thankful my family got a chance to go out there and experience it, because I've run out of that tunnel hundreds of times. And it was always a special feeling. It never got old. And I have to admit, I really wasn't sure what that feeling was going to be like. But boy, was that moving. And if you watched it on TV, it doesn't do it justice. It was an amazing feeling. And you know, when people ask me about legacy and where I stand on that, for me, it's pretty simple. And we all know legacy is how we best, or how we're remembered, and how, of course, as an individual, how you want to be remembered best. And for me, I want to be remembered as a good man, far from perfect, by no means perfect, a man who loves his teammates, really, love my teammates. We had a lot of fun. Coaches, the fans, I mean, that was an outstanding ovation today, and you know, I just could feel it, and I mean, just an amazing feeling. And loved the game of football, really loved it. I mean, I had a blast playing. It was tough sometimes, but I had a blast playing. Loves God, loves life, and learned so much from a lot of these players, a lot of these coaches, a lot of experience, a lot of trial and error. And the city of Green Bay, the state of Wisconsin, has been special to us for a lot of reasons. Yes, but where I play football, it's where, you know, so many great things happen, but it's also where a lot of tragedy has happened. And I'm thankful that I had an opportunity to share that with the people of Wisconsin. It wasn't always winning games, it wasn't always winning Super Bowls, although those were fun. It was when I battled pain pill addiction, one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life, and came back and was fortunate enough to be on a team that won the Super Bowl. And I spent 72 days in rehab and had a chance to really think about a lot of things. And the support that I got from everyone. Mike came down, Ron came down. I spent 72 days in Topeka, Kansas. And let me tell you, it was tough. It was tough, but the reward was something really special. When Deanna battled breast cancer, just a week from her brother passing away in an ATV accident on our property, let me tell you, that was tough. That was extremely tough. But yet, you were there with us. And much like when my father passed away, which was a very, very tough, hard situation, unlike my two brothers, my sister, and my mom, I was able to, I don't want to say hide, but I was with my great friends, Longwell and Doug and Josh Bidwell at the time, but also my entire family, the Packer family. And Mike Sherman was an unbelievable force when we were out in Oakland, and Deanna flew out there that night. And I have to admit, the Oakland crowd was simply amazing. As crazy as it may sound, they were absolutely amazing. And when we got back here, it was like we came back to millions of open arms. And again, being able to share our joy, share our sadness together is really something special, because you care. You can go other places and people don't care. And that's why you can't put an NFL team in some of these big cities, because they don't care. But you care here. And that was evident today. It really was. And I'm truly thankful for that. I'm just so thankful that I had an opportunity to experience all that with you, and that you allowed me and my family to be a part of it. I say thank you.